We're live on DSTV, channel 421, Go TV 144. This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. Our headlines this hour. Government to privatize and sell off some unprofitable state-owned enterprises following a report by the Finance Ministry of a recorded 5.3 billion cedi loss.
Defunct enterprise sitting on assets, and government is using taxpayers' money, paying some security people, and people are demolishing the asset and selling. Something like that you don't hold. Yes, some will be private, some will be sold off.
Call cases of senior lawyers first. That's the order of the Chief Justice to trial court judges as he insists tradition must be preserved. We'll bring you details of his circular and speak to the GBA. Also in this package, former Attorney General takes on National Security Minister Kandapa over his comments that the Judiciary's continuous ruling in favor of government could pose a national security threat.
I'm sorry to say that I don't think that he sought legal advice. The judges are taking an oath to do justice to all manner of persons without fear or favor, ill will or affection.
At 8 p.m., I'll hand over to Charles for the latest in business.
Of course, in business, the Chamber of Telecommunications will be engaging government over the implementation of the electronic levy come the 1st of May. They are citing possible challenges to mobile money usages.
The issues of the cap, the industry itself operates on a cap. So once you're sending money to somebody beyond 1,000 cedis for MTN and Airtel money who charge, the charge is fixed at 10 cedis.
And at 8:15, we'll bring you Prime Sports. Oriku, what should we look forward to?
Well, referee instructor TRK Atifu has told Joy Sports the penalty decision in Sunday's Super Clash was the correct one.
And later here on Joy News Prime, Ghana's dancing Pallbearer group have won a $1 million contract for a meme of their famous coffin dance video that has gone viral. But how did they do that?
Fair 25% of the funds from the sale of our memes at the NFT auction to the Ukrainian Charitable Foundation.
We'll bring you details here on Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. This is your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Stay for details. Hello again, my name is Ernest Manu. Thanks very much for choosing us. Now, government has served notice it will sell off some unprofitable state-owned agencies if they fail to turn the tide. Now, the decision follows a 2020 state ownership report released by the Finance Ministry, which recorded a 5.3 billion cedi loss by SOEs. The ministry, however, says the figure represents a nearly 30% improvement on the 2019 aggregate net loss. Let's hear from the minister in charge of state agencies, Joseph Kujo, who granted this interview to my colleague Blessed Soga.
From within, because all of them have assets. When it comes to inefficiency, I'll repeat, you address inefficiencies through training and use of technology. I'll give you an example of...
You don't believe it's a problem of corruption? You don't believe that?
Listen, how do you solve problem of corruption? That is, go after them. Rule of law. So go after them means that I should spend my energy. One maybe corrupt practice or a customer who has defaulted. I should be spending energy going after customers at court. 173 plus state enterprises. Can that be done? We're rolling out measures. We are doing some policies. Equity study, for example, is to look at what we call recommendations. There are 6 entities that the equity study would recommend for cabinet approval to say, for this entity, invite a strategic investor into it. Because the nature of its business and the nature of capital requirements, state cannot. So invite a strategic investor. There are some that you say, take it to the stock market for listing. Because private Ghanaians will be interested holding shares of those companies. And by so doing, inject capital anytime that company needs capital. So some will be private, some will be sold off. There are defunct enterprise sitting on assets, and government is using taxpayers' money, paying some security people, and people are demolishing the asset and selling. Something like that you don't hold.
You be selling it?
Oh, ask you. common sense. When you have a company, you cannot, the company has been run down, just defunct. It's not functioning, collapse. Assets sitting there. Okay, you have to pay security every month to take care of it. You don't have money to pay because they've run it down. You don't have money to pay for it to operate. What will you do? The private man will sell before it reaches even that stage. Do you understand? But sentiment, because of sentiment, will hold on to it and keep using your tax, income tax, when you check your pay slip, your tax, and then they go and pay for that defunct town in the bush. And you see it run down and down because of sentiment. Sentiment doesn't come in if you exact performance from people taking care of your investments. And I mean people taking care of your investment. Sentiment doesn't come in. Of course, those that should deliver welfare services, you separate them to, let's say, land commission. If you purchase land before and you know the kind of things they can do to deliver an environment that is conducive for investments. People coming to Ghana to, they say to invest, you definitely need a space. You want to acquire land, and it's taking forever to acquire land. And acquiring land to corruption, frustrations, and so on. Something like that. You are not exacting profits from them, but you are exacting operational efficiency from them. They too, they have the yardstick they should go with. That digitalize your operations. Let somebody go on an app. There is a mobile money that can be used to pay for the service. I can make a search on my phone. You get me? You are creating a conducive environment. The expectation of them will be different from a gayhawk that produces alcohol. Is alcohol a welfare? I think that a Ghana government should produce alcohol for its citizens. So that one, it's an investment. So you go with a mindset that is investment driven, and you make sure that the chief executive is encouraged to turn up products that can be exported, that can be marketed. Are you getting me? So the yardstick for oversighting, all of them are different. But the broader picture is that this government has a Minister for Public Enterprises through SIGA, State Interest and Governance Authority, to oversight the state enterprises sector, that space, so that we change the narrative.
So that's the Minister, Joseph Kujoda, in the interview with my colleague Blessed Suga. We're joined in the studio by Kofi Eji of our research desk. He's been looking at this issue of state-owned enterprises and how well they are doing. Kofi, first of all, in this report, how many institutions were researched on?
Well, there you have it. So 46, SOEs were analyzed. So we have 11 of them being from the financial sector, 10 being from energy, and then you have the rest agric and then infrastructure. Okay. Now the next slide, talks about their revenue generation. These 46 XOEs that were, analyzed, what were their revenue? So let's look at the trend from 2016. So we chose 2016 as the base year. Okay. So as of 2016, gross, they were making revenue of 28.55 billion Ghana cedis. This increased to 37.91 billion cedis. And then the last time it was analyzed, that's this current year, the current report we have 2020,
which is
exactly where we have revenue being pegged at 45.23 billion Ghana cedis. So you can look at their revenue trend. You can see that it is on the increase. They're actually improving in terms of revenue they make. But it will be
important to look at this as against.
So the subsequent slides will also talk to the net losses and then their liabilities. So the next slide, talks about. So we selected 10 of these SOEs. Okay. So the top 10 in terms of revenue. So we look at ECG leading. Okay. So in 2020 they generated an amount of 13.8 billion, followed by Cocoa Board 10.
And it's interesting that ECG is leading because just last week. We know that they were on some mass disconnection exercise of major institutions that were indebted to them. and we've talked about the losses that have been we've recorded in ECG over the years. If they are leading in revenue with 13.8 billion as of the last check, it means that they could probably do better.
Yeah, so but it's always good to peg your revenue against your total cost or your expenditure.
Of operations, yeah.
Exactly. That's where we know whether you're making profit or a loss. So ECG leading, Cocoa Board, and then the rest follows. Where the Ghana National Gas Company being the least in terms of this top 10, 817 million Ghana cedis as of 2020. Now, this slide talks about the net, loss. So here we are looking at the loss that we are talking about. So we started from 2019 to 2020. So as of 2019, SOEs were the 6 SOEs were making a loss of 5.16 billion Ghana cedis. And, there was a decline in 2020 from the 5.16 billion cedis to 2.61 billion cedis, and that's significant because if as of 2019 you're making a loss of 5.16 and you've been able to reduce this to 2.61 in terms of net loss, that's very significant.
That's more than half.
Exactly. So this one talks about their liabilities. So whilst net loss is going down, but liabilities, that's amount how much they owe and all those things, it's on the rise from 97.61 billion in 2019 to 119.55 billion cedis in 2020. So this is where the situation becomes a bit worrisome because if you should just a year, and if you just look at the difference, it's very significant from 97.61 to 190.
So whilst they may be increasing in revenue, in terms of liabilities as well, there's also some increase that would then affect substantially.
Exactly, and in terms of expenditure and operational costs, direct costs and all those things, so it's on the rise as well. So we looked at the top 10 liabilities. ECG, when we looked at revenue, they were leading. But in terms of
liabilities as well. It makes the point.
Exactly. So ECG is still leading when it comes to liability. Cocoa Board, the same position. And then this time around, GNPC takes the number 3 position with 11.35 billion, in terms of liabilities. And the rest follows.
And then GPHA there at the 10th position.
That's
and Kofi, thank you very much for bringing us these details. Some of the companies have been responding to this, what they call, false news on some online portals. We'll bring you the statement of BOST. But let's go on to Zoom now and speak to Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who is on the Public Enterprises Committee of Parliament. He joins us. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. I'm pretty certain that the phenomenon of SOEs making losses is not new to the committee in Parliament. But what do you make of this move? First of all, this report released by the Finance Ministry, and then the announcement by the Minister about selling some off and privatizing others. Well, we seem to have a frozen feed there of Dr. Kwabena Donkor. We'll reconnect to him once we have that feed back on. But we can bring you the statement of BOST. They have been responding to what they say is false news on some online portals that quotes their boss as saying they have made some losses, but BOST is saying that it's on its way to becoming an international or a world-class state-owned enterprise. So it says that April 10, 2022, Accra, the management of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company Limited has taken notice of a series of publications making the rounds on several online portals, suggesting that contrary to an announcement by the MD Edwin Provencal that BOST has made an operating profit before tax of 30 million Ghana cedis, a report from SIGA indicates BOST has incurred losses to the tune of 400 million Ghana cedis. We, by this publication, seek to correct the erroneous impression created by the publication and wish to set the record straight as follows. So we picked the very last, the very first and last paragraph, which actually addresses the issue. It says your company, BOST, has been turned around. Any comprehensive and objective analysis of the auditor statement for the past 5 years will show a company on track to higher performance through enhanced efficiency, and will look forward to capitalizing on these modest improvements to make BOST an example of a world-class state-owned enterprise. It remains uncontested that the debt to suppliers and related parties of 623 million has been paid down to $39 million. The debt owed the local banks of about $273 million has been fully cleared, and our pipelines, which were procured in 2011 and left to the mercy of the weather in the United States under the AT&V contract, have arrived safely on our shores, and we expect to complete the installation of the additional 12-inch pipeline between Accra Plains and Akosomo Depot. The cash flow position of the company is enhanced, and the repair of the company's infrastructure continues despite the reduction in our BOST margin. In conclusion, we iterate the fact that your company, BOST, is on its way to becoming a profitable state-owned enterprise, and nothing will derail the resolve of management and staff to achieve this. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Let's go on to the phone now. Dr. Komna Junko joins us this time on phone. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on Joy News Prime. And so give us first of all your reaction to the 2020 report released by the Finance Ministry on state-owned enterprises.
Well, 2020 was a difficult year for most entities, and therefore I wasn't surprised that other than the mining sector and a few others, the performance was generally poor. However, having said that, we are not just of the traditional state-owned enterprise. Today, under SEGA, they've also brought in the regulatory board. They are the other state entities. And those are not meant to be profitable. They are not meant to make profit, even though they can be processed. So let's just be sure we are talking about real commercial entities. The real commercial entities are 47, then the JVCs, the joint venture companies are 17. Then there are 14 entities where the state has minority interest. For example, every mining company, the state has a 10% interest. So those are the minority interests. Then there are 54 other state entities: Petroleum Commission, Energy Commission, and the other regulatory bodies, Ghana Standards Authority. So we cannot measure them by profitability, but we can measure them more by efficiency. Of course, they make surplus. NPA, Petroleum Authority, has a surplus. Yes.
But the efficiency has also been called into question, and that is part of the reasons the minister says some of them would have to be sold off completely, others privatized, and there'll be a full list of what to do with some of these companies. I'm sure Parliament should take an interest in this.
Absolutely. Why must we sell off? First of all, there are issues beyond the entities. The major challenge of a number of state-owned enterprises are governance. Who appoints the board? Who appoints chief executive? You have entities that have survived and done well under one chief executive. They are suddenly given 3 deputy chief executives. We have a governance issue. And that report does not address the governance issue. A number of them have been without boards or were without boards for a period. Therefore, we must also get our political act together.
Okay.
Are these entities going to be allowed to be commercial entities? Are we going to develop a new criteria for employing the leadership of these entities? Or the leadership of these entities will invariably be just for the boys? Some entities within the last 4 years had their numbers more than double. Of course, if you have employees more than double, with a corresponding increase in market share, and where the regulatory bodies, for example, if you take the numbers of Petroleum Commission over the last 4 or 5 years and compare them to what they were even in 2017, 2018, a number of recruitment has gone on. Yet we still have 3 producing fields. We have not added producing fields. And therefore, some of the issues are not just commercial. Just selling them off for me, can be a lazy way out. Let's examine each one of them. What are the real challenges?
So your position is that for some of these agencies, once we're able to deal with the governance issues, and of course the sheer politics of it, we may not have to sell them off.
Precisely. Once we deal with the governance issues and make sure we put them on a commercial footing, those that are commercial, then we don't have to sell them off. We can, some of them, for example, we can bring in private participation if some of them are undercapitalized and the state is not in a position to inject capital. Let's take the good case of East Electricity Company of Ghana.
Yeah.
When PDS was managing the network, PDS had an agreement with the government of Ghana that anytime there was a need for the quarterly tariff adjustment and government of Ghana for any reason did not see through the adjustment, the government of Ghana was to pay PDS. We don't have the same with ECG now that it's being managed by its own board.
Yeah.
And therefore, if we are unable or unwilling to adjust tariffs and it affects their operation, I'm not saying ECG is the epitome of efficiency. No, there's still a lot of work to be done in efficiency. But the Ghanaian state has also contributed.
Very well. Doc, we'd have to leave it here because of time, but I'm grateful that you could join us. And of course, this has just come up. I'm sure eventually when government decides on what to do with some of these companies, it may come before Parliament, and then we can have a broader conversation on that. Let's do some other stories. Now, former Attorney General Ayikwe Otu has taken on the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapa, over his comments that ruling in favor of the government always will make people see the judiciary as biased. Speaking at a sensitization workshop for members of the Superior Court, Albert Kandapa warned that when judges are perceived to be impartial, it will have, when they are seen to be partial, it does have some national security implications as people will take the law into their own hands. We'll hear from Ayikwe Otu shortly, but first, listen to exactly what Albert Kandapa said.
Injustice occasioned as a result of the absence of an effective justice delivery system or delayed justice or biased justice is certainly a threat to national security. And indeed, when injustice abounds, particularly in situations where the bench, which is considered as the final arbiter of disputes, is deemed to be biased, citizens tend to take the law into their own hands, most times without recourse to the established systems of justice delivery. And similarly, the failure of the criminal justice system to ensure effective and expeditious trial of criminals adversely impact the morale of law enforcement agencies. It also emboldens criminals to perpetrate more crime and breeds lawlessness among the citizenry. Developments which threaten the internal security of the state. If we are going to be able to address the security challenges that we have, especially the domestic ones, we need to be able to ensure that there is a judicial system that works. If we do not have a system, a judicial system that works, many people will simply take the laws into their own hands and misbehave and do what they want. Therefore, in trying to manage the security situation, it is important for us that we do get a judicial system that works. And we are all lucky that in the sub-region, we are perceived as a country where the judicial system works and where you could expect justice. If the interpretation of the law is tilted so much in our favor all the time, people will start accusing the judiciary and would not have the confidence that they need.
Well, that last statement, tilted in our favor all the time, has generated a lot of controversy, with many talking about demanding some further explanation. But speaking on the Super Morning Show this morning, are you able to say that Kandapar should have sought legal advice before making such comments?
Kandapar, I'm sorry to say that I don't think that he sought legal advice. The judges are taking an oath to do justice to all manner of persons without fear or favor, ill will or affection. Are you saying that when somebody brings a case which is bad, the Supreme Court must give an interpretation to favor that person merely because every time ruling for you will make people feel that there's something wrong? So don't send the cases to court. Why do they check themselves before they go? Because clearly, you know what they're going to file, you are going to lose. Then why do you go in the first place? Then you expect the Supreme Court to be playing politics, to say that, oh, I've given 5 NPP, I've given 5 rulings in favor of NPP. So this one I'm going to give a ruling in favor of NDC. It doesn't work that way. Either you have a case or you don't have a case. That is my view of the matter.
Well, speaking on the same subject, security analyst Professor Kwesi Enin argued that there's nothing wrong with the comments made by the National Security Minister. Hear him.
First, that the minister shows true maturity and understanding of the complexities of what insecurities are, or what types of seemingly innocuous, innocent activities can create insecurity. That is one. Number two, the minister's concerns about the role of the judiciary and the perceived independence plus neutrality of their work, I think must be located within the National Security Strategy document that was launched probably a little over a year ago. Now, what the minister seeks to do is to raise an early warning cautionary note about the role of the judiciary, their performance over time, and how that performance feeds into and can create particular perceptions of that critical role that the judiciary plays. All judiciaries are the last stop for mediating tensions and a sense of injustice within societies. And as the last bastion where people can run to and seek a fair assessment of what they may perceive to be injustices or wrongs done against either individuals or groups. And it is more often than not an almost knife's edge relationship amongst all these, contesting parties. And particularly, it is the ability of the judiciary to negotiate these contested territories in a manner that its words and actions are deemed to be fair, objective, neutral, becomes very critical, particularly in seemingly fragile societies.
Let's stay in the courts. The Chief Justice, Kwesi Enin, has directed trial court judges to strictly adhere to the age-long tradition of calling the cases of senior lawyers first. Now, Justice Enin explains in his office has noted with concern the practice where this tradition is not being adhered to. He insists obeying such a tradition affords junior lawyers the opportunity to learn from their seniors. This is contained in a circular he issued, and we'll bring you the full details shortly. It says the legal profession, as we know, is steeped in traditions and ceremonies. One of the traditions observed is the practice of calling cases of persons whose names are on the roll of lawyers in order of seniority of enrollment, notwithstanding the notion of equality at the bar. This practice, among other benefits, affords the young lawyers the opportunity to learn from senior lawyers to whom they would not ordinarily be exposed to, thus enriching the whole legal training experience beyond what is taught in chambers and other places of work. It has recently been drawn to my attention that some trial judges are not observing this practice in court, whilst the right to call a case out of turn is not absolute and is exercisable subject to the convenience of the court. For the reasons mentioned above, I would request all trial court judges to strictly adhere to this age-old tradition and resort to inviting applications from seniors first. I hope I can count on your cooperation. So this is a circular from the Office of the Chief Justice to trial court judges. Professor Kweku Asare, however, disagrees with the CJ on this tradition. He says it will be inimical to the justice delivery system. He says parties must be treated equally in our courts. The practice of giving preferences to senior lawyers by calling their cases first can quickly degenerate into giving more weight to what they say, giving them more time, paying less attention to junior lawyers, etc. Furthermore, it sends a signal to clients that if you want your case to move quickly in court, then you better hire a senior lawyer. So let's go on to Zoom right now and speak to the GBA. We have the PRO joining us, Xavier Kuja. Thank you very much for your time here on Joy News Prime. So there are many who share the opinion of Professor Kweku Asare that this, instead of helping junior judges to actually learn, will be inimical to their growth and indeed to the justice delivery system. Why is that not the case?
Good evening, Ernest. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, sir.
And good evening to your viewers too. Ernest, let me explain this. The terminology seniors used in the circular does not mean that senior lawyers, as we know, 10 years and above. What it means is that if you are a lawyer and then you are 1 year at the bar and I am 2 years at the bar, my case should be called before yours. Okay. In any case, the Chief Justice does not give a directive. That is an age-old tradition and ceremony that goes with practice in Ghana.
But if that is not being adhered to, is that not inherent? Does that not send a signal of its irrelevance in our time?
Not at all. Not at all, because every good judge will tell you that a good bench makes a good judge. What do I mean by this? You cannot just read authorities in the books. You must go and apply them. And the understanding you have upon reading might be different when you get to court. And let us all get this. To be able to even know the authorities to read, sometimes you may not know all. You listen to others in courts, and when they apply it and mention it, you write it down and come back and read.
But you don't learn all of that in court. I believe that judges prepare before they go to court. They prepare their briefs. And as I know it, I may be wrong, but many junior lawyers work with senior lawyers on cases. And they must have been adequately prepared. Of course, there may be things that will come up in the news, in the courtroom, in the courtroom, but you necessarily don't have to queue in order to learn those, do you?
Yes, I have always maintained that once you consciously elected to become a lawyer, you have elected to be a student for the rest of your life, even if possible in the next world, because the learning continues. Decided cases may not be known to you every time, unless somebody signs them, then you also go and read. And the cases are applications of the statute laws. So you cannot just sit in your office and say that I have a good senior and that is the end, because you may not have the opportunity to meet other lawyers. The only way you meet them is when you listen to them in court. If I want to know about Richard Branson, for instance, I may not be able to meet him. But if I read whatever he writes, I know about Richard Branson.
But there will be several avenues for you to learn from some of these senior lawyers, as the Chief Justice would want juniors to learn from you. The issue is about why your case should be put on hold necessarily because there is someone who is ahead of you who is on the roll, who was listed on the roll before you, and not on the merit of the case that you are bringing, or even as the judge deems fit.
Ernest, what we just said, the Chief Justice has power to direct that a particular case, irrespective of the standing of the lawyer at the bar in terms of seniority, should be heard. So it is not as if that circular is saying that from now onwards, never hear any case unless a senior's case is called. It has always been the tradition, and it's been very good. Some of us have benefited from it. There is no practicing lawyer who is very good at practice that will say that what the Chief Justice has said does not add to standards. We are all complaining, or people at least have complained that standards are falling. It is all because traditions and ceremonies that are known to go with legal practice in this country are not being followed. So for me, I'm all for it. The Chief Justice hasn't done anything wrong. It doesn't sound discriminatory in any way. In any case, the clients even stand to benefit because
how is that? When Mr. Kudze, you charge me per the hour. If my lawyer happens to be a junior, goes to the court on a particular court day, meets several seniors in court, it means that my case would be delayed and perhaps the rest of the day wasted. That will be additional cost to me. Doesn't it work that way?
No, you see, don't presume that your case is the only case to be heard by the court. And that is why we call it proceedings. It is not a court. Court proceedings are not events. It doesn't happen one-off. If you have one application that is heard that day and it is disposed of, fair enough. But if you're in a case that will run the full haul, you must follow the processes and the procedures.
But every proceeding comes at a cost to the client. And that is very important, which is the issue Professor Asari raises, that if this continues, then clients will be forced to go in for very senior lawyers who can fast-track their cases simply because they are senior lawyers. Their cases will be heard probably earlier, and they can get the justice that they seek. And that is too expensive.
Once again, I think you've taken the circular out of context. The circular pertains to court proceedings on a particular day.
Yes.
It doesn't say that if a senior lawyer's case is pending before a court, it should be singled out, heard and completed before a junior's case is attended to. That is not the intent of the circular. The circular intends to say that if a number of lawyers are in court on the same day, it is preferable, or they are advised that for purposes of learning, those who are seniors to others in court benefit to learn, so their cases should be called first. It doesn't mean that will be the practice that they single out a senior's cases to be heard and completed before juniors. So there is no injustice that will be occasioned anybody in this instance.
Well, we'll leave it here. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Kudze. Thank you very much. That's the PRO of the Ghana Bar Association. You're watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. Still to come, Ghana's dancing Pallbearer group have won a $1 million contract for a meme of their famous coffin dance video that went viral. But how did they do it?
We will transfer 25% of the funds from the sale of our meals at the NFT auction to the Ukrainian Charitable Foundation.
We'll find out how they did it, plus more stories after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, a city guard with the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is alleged to have been stabbed in a scuffle with a commercial driver and his conductor. 50-year-old Thomas Amachi Yankee, known popularly as Congo Soldier, was stabbed multiple times with a knife on the neck and stomach at the KJTR First Gate Lorry Terminal. This wonderful report.
The father of 6 sustained injuries and later died at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital upon referral from a clinic at Adum. According to the police PRO, ASP Godwin Ahianyo, the late Congo soldier attempted to prevent the driver from loading passengers at an unauthorized place, leading to the brawl.
According to the investigation we've gathered, or the information gathered so far, indicate that when the fight ensued between them, he stabbed the suspect in the head, and he also in turn stabbed him on the chest, killing him instantly, because when he was taken to the hospital, he was pronounced dead by the medical officer on duty. Whoever is found culpable or who is involved and is supposed to be prosecuted and put before court, why not? We'll definitely put that fellow before court. We'll ensure that justice is served.
The brawl between the deceased and the driver, 25-year-old Kingsley Amoa, happened Saturday afternoon. The public relations officer of KMA, Afia Kunedu Abuaje, says the assembly received the unfortunate news from the unit head of the city guard.
After asking him to move, when he wasn't moving, he sat in the car, which they normally do that thing a lot. He sat in the car, and then when the city guard sat in the car, the driver then parked well, so he got down from the car, and then it amounted to some confrontations, and some people came to the middle of it, and then each one went his way. So he went then to stand at the KJTR gates, phase 1, the project, the gates, and for no apparent reason, and some people heard him saying, "Wekumiu, Wekumiu." So his hands were here, and then on his chest, the left part. So the stabbing was on the neck and then his chest area.
Some eyewitnesses spoke to Love FM News.
The fight between the driver and the KMA city guard was resolved until the officials started harassing the driver. The city guard attacked the driver, and the driver also pulled out a knife to fight back.
The driver is currently in police custody after he was treated and discharged for head injury under police guard. His mate was also arrested to assist police investigations. Reporting for Joy News, Obidishie Ofori Amanfo.
The prisons are meant to reform inmates for integration into society. Though prison service continues to strive towards achieving this objective, the target is sometimes missed due to the financial and logistical constraints. The Kumasi Central Prison, in an attempt to meet the reformation of inmates, is strengthening its relationship with various institutions, including religious bodies, to deal with the challenges. Nana Ojima joined a church service in the Kumasi Central Prisons and filed this report.
Instrumentalists of the prison's church backs a singing group from the Agrek Kumasi SDA Church as they lead a song ministration in worship. Visitors from the SDA Church take to the dance floor as some inmates also enjoy the songs. The sermon today focused on reformation of all present. Many of the inmates are either enrolled in formal or technical education offered by the service, but the facility is challenged with infrastructure for the reformation process. The formal education unit here runs both the junior and senior high schools courses from the same classroom as the inmates take turns to study.
We have a school here, both junior high and then senior high.
Superintendent Emmanuel Labi explains the need for partnership with corporate and religious groups for the reformation.
Whatever we provide for them and whatever government provides for them will not be adequate for them. So we are encouraging people to come and support. In every small way that you have, you can come and support these inmates so that their lives will be better. When they are able to reform, and go out to be better citizens. It will benefit the whole society.
Already, the Seventh-day Adventist Church at Agrek, Kromwase, offers support to inmates. Michael Donkokunedu is head pastor.
Some came here as a result of their wrongdoings. Some also came here because probably an incident happened and they entered there and they were just like captured. And we saw it that we could also be in the same situation. So we should come to their aid and see to their welfare and their well-being. So we are entreating all others outside their families and churches, organizations and institutions to come to their aid.
The reformation process here at the prisons will need sustained support to achieve the goal of integrating inmates into society. Nanaya Ojima, Joy News, Kumasi.
Now, the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources is urging the private sector to take advantage of the huge waste resource available to help shore up the production of fertilizers in the country. Speaking at the Information Ministry on Government's Management of Water and Sanitation, Cecilia Abnadapa said the move will go a long way to keep the country clean whilst providing jobs and boosting agriculture. Samuel Mbura's report.
Ghana is estimated to have over 53.2 billion cubic meters of surface water, but only 14% has been utilized and the rest has been destroyed. Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources Cecilia Abnadapa is worried about its continuous destruction.
We have a serious issue at Daboase, Sechere Odaso, and Wa. People have started even winning sand from the White and Black Volta rivers. If we do not stop this very soon, that one is for sure, we will not have water to drink. God has given us 53.2 billion cubic meters of surface water. But what are we doing with the water? We are saying we are using only 14%. The rest is being destroyed.
She has, however, highlighted measures government has implemented to safeguard and enhance water resource management across the country.
If we are borrowing close to $1 billion to do projects, and the raw water sources are contaminated, polluted, and the machines will be drawing in mud, where are we going, and what do we want to do with our water bodies? People have the audacity to divert the Pra, the Ankobra, the Brim, just because they want money for themselves. Greed, inordinate greed, and that must stop. We are trying to put the rivers back to their normal places. But please, I'm pleading seriously with those who do that to stop.
Ghana is the focal point in the report from the World Water Forum in the whole of West Africa to implement a groundwater project, a reason efforts must be made to safeguard the environment. But the huge production of waste is a major challenge. Cecilia Abnadapa is calling on the private sector to take advantage of the huge potential in fertilizer production the situation presents.
Ghana's waste, I must say, according to the technical report I have, is 65% organic. We produce 7.1 million tons of waste per year. So it's on us. And I will state here again that the private sector can take advantage of this and do what ESPA members, the Environmental Service Providers Association, some of them are into compost production. And like I said, if you bury organic waste in your house for 3 months, you get...
Samuel Mbura report for Joy News, Accra.
This is Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Manu. We're taking a break. When we return, the pallbearers and their $1 million contract. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Now, what started as a social media trend has now won a Ghanaian pallbearer group over $1 million on the non-fungible tokens, that's NFTs. That's the market. The group, famed for their stylish way of conveying the dead to the final resting place, have won international popularity for their style. Here's a report by my colleague Justice Bay. This sounds too good to be true. $1 million for that video you just watched. But how does this work? Spiky joins us. Spiky is host of Geek Squad on Joy FM and, of course, brings us Tech Talk here on the Joy News channel. Spiky, First of all, explain to us further what NFTs are and how you can put your work on there. Maybe I could win some $1 million as well. You have to unmute, Spiky.
Yes, so an NFT basically is a digital certificate of ownership of any creative work that you put online. So basically, take for instance that you have an image of yourself that you've created and you'd like to sell. So basically, artists who are trying to make money on the internet take their art and they mint it. We call it minting. So creating an NFT requires minting. So you have to process it or create that certificate of ownership that says that this item or this artwork or this creation, and in this case, the Pallbearers creation, belongs to me. So when I want to sell it, I'm selling that certificate to say you, and then I can open it up for bids. What they did was that they minted it and they opened it up for bids, and bids came in, and it was about $1 million worth of Ethereum, which is a cryptocurrency.
I see. So if I want to put my work on there, how difficult is it?
It's not difficult. You just basically have to sign up on a platform that trades NFTs. So an example would be OpenSea. So you just go on OpenSea, sign up just as you would on. It's like creating an Instagram account.
Okay.
You create your Instagram, you create your account, and then the more complicated process is the minting.
Spiky, when you return to the office, I guess we have to start working on something because man has got to make some money. Thank you very much, Spiky, for helping us understand this. And that's it. That's our show for tonight. Many thanks for your company here on Journal.